Okay, so today we are planting loquats. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here. It is very early, October 11th, 2020. So what you see behind me here would be 4 varieties of loquats that we're going to be putting in the ground here in the fall of 2020. The loquats are kind of a unique fruit. I'm from Southern California, so I'm very used to eating loquats. In fact, I grew up in Gardena, and there were loquats on those little strips between the sidewalk and the road. They grew everywhere, and they grew really, really well. Just an amazing flavor and taste, very, very unique. Wanted to bring that to Arizona, and come to find out they're actually not that difficult to grow. Let's cover the reason why we're here in October ready to plant these trees. So one of the unique things about loquats is they actually are very cold hardy, so they survive our winters just fine. In fact, we found that with no protection they survive pretty well anyhow. In fact, I'll link a video here where we actually took a harvest off of the old property on the Yehuda loquat that we had growing there with no protection, had the standard irrigation and fertilizing practices that we do here as well, and you can see it grows really well. Now, one thing to keep in mind, because they're cold hardy, the planting time is very important. They do have a tendency to really struggle a little bit during the summer, especially at the peak of summer. They'll get crisping leaves, and you'll see that on these trees here. So we want to get them in the ground in the fall to get them through that beautiful season and kind of their peak season during the fall, winter, and early spring, allow them to establish roots and establish growth. So that's why this time of year is really the best time to get these into the ground. Let's go ahead and look at the varieties that we'll be putting in here today. So we got all these trees from Richard's Garden Center. They're located in North Phoenix, right off I-17 in Jomax. Kind of difficult to get in there, but either way, it's a cool little nursery. We like them. We've done really well with some of the trees we've gotten from there, and that's where we got these 4 varieties here this fall. So this first one that we're going to be planting is the one that you probably would find most often, and that is the big Gem Loquat. So these I'm familiar with because this is pretty much the variety that I always found in Southern California. So a nice big loquat, very good tasting, and that's what we're going to have right here in front of the house in our bay window, which we look out from the office. So these varieties, as we go through them, one thing I'm going to have Lori do is slide in. You'll see all of these are grafted. So this is, you can see the rootstock here. This is the rootstock, and it's grafted up here just a bit high. I'm not a huge fan of the height of these grafts because I don't want them growing much like a tree. I want them more like a bush. But it is another type of loquat. So either way, this rootstock is loquat as well. But the graft is here, and this is our big Gem variety. So we're going to be putting this right up here in the front. Next variety would be the Champagne Loquat. This one actually has flowers that are trying to start. We will definitely not let this thing fruit. We want it to grow roots and leaves, but you can see it's got a nice clean graft right here that's ready to go. And this is where the actual Champagne Loquat will start. So this one's going right up here again, looking out towards the street. Our view from the window will be this one as well. Next variety going in today would be the Gold Nugget Loquat. So this guy here, a little bit smaller, which I don't mind at all. I really like the way that this tree is branching out. Last variety we're going to be putting in today is the Macbeth. Again, very good branching here at the top. Good graft point up here, a bit high for my taste, but either way, looks good. A little bit of crisping on the leaves, which I was talking about. That's just because they had them out in the sun. Here in the summertime, they'll get this brown crisping, and that's completely normal. One of the things that we did to prep this area, you can see we've got a lot of rocks and a lot of fill dirt that we had brought into here, which was not a big fan of that. But we did start prepping this area here with wood chips, and you can see a lot of water to hopefully make it a little bit easier for us to dig. However, we're still going to get that auger out and get this thing going. Now, one of the things, we're going to do a complete ring on this, the Champagne Loquat and the big Gem Loquat, so we can finish this area in here. So we will be making the full-size ring, so you guys will see that today. And I think we need to go ahead and get to it. We got the planting done, so we're here with the Champagne Loquat, and this is the one that was our biggest challenge. It was planted way too far over to one side of the pot. I probably should have recognized that when I chose it from the nursery. Either way, it went in and it's just fine. So we are adding vitamin B1 and fish emulsion to these plants. They should put on some growth here now and in through the spring. That is the goal. So we want to make sure we're getting root growth as well as some leaf growth. We want them to bush out here quickly. So we did fill that in. Otherwise, we didn't amend anything, which is what we typically do, which is not. So now what we're gonna do is we need to create our irrigation rings. Now, it's early in the morning, but the sun's coming up and it's getting warm. I wanna make sure we concentrate on these trees that are out in the sun. If Lori peeks that way, you'll see the big Gem Loquat's actually still in the shade. That's part of the reason why we're planting these up here. But what we wanna do is we wanna go ahead and get these irrigation rings in, get these heavily mulched and heavily watered before that sun really starts to beat on them. So we wanted to get the first one on camera for you guys. This is actually our Macbeth Loquat. You'll see the design. So we kind of have this key design that we have to connect to our irrigation. Now eventually this ring will be much wider. We'll show you what that's going to look like on a couple of these other two, but this one will remain small for now. The idea is get the irrigation up near the tree itself, allow that to saturate in with these berms and swales. We've shown you that before. And really soak this tree with water here, especially over the next few months. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and test the irrigation. So Lori's gonna slide in, and I'm gonna show you how this works. So we have a Hunter HydroWise system. Hopefully you can pick it up on camera. Usually it's pretty good. So now this is on our citrus zone. So I'm gonna tap the citrus zone and hit the play button. You can see we typically water for 40 minutes. These are ½ gallon per minute bubblers. I'm gonna go ahead and hit start. And there's our irrigation. You can see the water going down, and now what we're gonna do is test it to make sure it actually goes all the way around. Usually we have to dig a little bit. You can see we got a high spot here, a high spot there. So we'll come through and dig as we need to make sure this completely fills the ring. We are almost done. We need to get all of them staked completely. We do want to make sure we don't, because they're top heavy, we don't want them blowing over in the winds. But one other thing we're going to do, these first two, so the Champagne and the Big Gem, we are going to go ahead and create our extended circle because we're going to actually fill in this whole area with wood chips to go ahead and complete at least everything that's right in front of the house. So we're going to use our Sun Joe tiller, which you'll see over there on the ground, to basically get the ground broken up so we can pull the dirt back and actually create the outer rings for these, which will be their permanent rings. see how this ring is designed. So we have our temporary channel, that's this here, which is bringing water right up close to the tree. So while you have that root ball close in, and as the roots start to grow out, you want to encourage that outward growth of roots. We're doing that up near the tree at first, and then mulching heavy. Now what we're going to do is come back to this outer ring, and we're going to start encouraging that growth to come out even further eventually. Right now we're not watering heavy enough to fill this outside ring, but you can see that ring is not very deep. It'll still hold a good 100 gallons or so, and that may spill over, which is okay. This whole area you'll see here in a moment is going to be full of wood chips. But what we will do, once this tree is actually grown out past that first ring, we'll knock these back here, so we'll have the water draining right into the outside ring as opposed to the inside ring to again encourage that root growth out. Always remember that your tree is only going to be as big as the moisture in the soil is going to let it get. We want these trees nice and big and bushy, and so we're going to be obviously encouraging that with the water and the design of these rings. So now what I need to do is I need to fire up the tractor, and we got a whole lot of wood chips to move in. But before we do that, we better get these things staked so they don't blow over in the wind that is starting to pick up now. So we have this complete. Now we spent the last few hours getting wood chips. As Lori kind of pans, you'll see the area that we were working in. Overall, I think the loquats look really good in here. You can see we have the loquats here up front and then the backdrop of the guava. Eventually we'll have citrus back there. But these loquats have gone through the afternoon really, really well. You can see no issues with drooping leaves or branches. They look really good here in the 90-degree weather. We'll hit them real heavy with water again tonight, and then they'll be on the regular watering schedule along with the rest of our trees. This time of year, that's every other day and about 20 gallons or so per day. And we'll probably back that down here starting next month. So they'll have a couple weeks still of that heavier watering schedule. Really looking forward to see how these loquats do here at the front of the property. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Questions or comments, leave those in the comment section down below. Instagram and Facebook, we post content there you won't see here on the YouTube channel. Our Amazon shop, we'll leave a link down in the description. That is a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here. And lastly, our Healthy Farm Living channel, I have that link down below as well. That is the new channel that Lori and I started. That is where we cover all the things we do to stay as healthy as we possibly can in and around the farmhouse. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. So we got all these trees from Richard's Garden Center. They're in North Phoenix. I'm excited.